Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to Press Pause today. So Aurora and I are here and excited about all the news when it comes to Disney. And I'm sure many of you, if you're watching this video, have heard, but Bob Chapek is gone. He is gone from Disney. He has been fired. He has resigned, whatever Disney wants to call it. Basically, he has been given the boot out of the parks, out of Disney Plus, out of Disney entirely. And so we're excited about that. There's reasons we're excited about that, and we're gonna get into it in the video. So we'll talk to you guys in a second. All right, guys, so as many of you know, many of you have seen, the news recently is that Bob Iger is returning to Disney parks. Bob Iger is the former CEO that was before Bob Chapek. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy around Bob Chapek. There's a lot of controversy around what he's been doing with the parks, what he's been doing with the Disney Plus streaming platform, and what he's been doing just with the company overall. Now, if you take a look at this, this wasn't really a surprise to us, and we'll get into that. Before we get into it, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We would appreciate you subscribing, like the video if you enjoy the content, and comment, let us know things that you think, let us know interesting takes or something that you want to see on a future video, because it does help the channel out a lot for you guys to comment. Now, when it comes to Bob Chapek leaving, this was not a surprise. Like I said, to us, this was not really a surprise. This was something that was inevitable and we knew was coming down the pipe. Ultimately, Disney stock has plummeted recently. If you haven't seen, their stock has completely plummeted. Chapek continued poor selection of words in his interviews, talking about how the company has seen great things from price increases and stuff. You can't say those things publicly because you're gonna hurt your fan base. You're gonna hurt what people are thinking of you from a fan base standpoint when your consumers are already upset about the pricing being raised. Those types of things, especially his PR team and things that they've said about guests needing to drop some off their waistline, which I need to right now currently as well, going into Thanksgiving. We'll see how that goes. But ultimately, his neglect in understanding the consumers and treating the brand as if it was like a Six Flags easily called for his removal. Now, in June, Disney executives, I don't know if you guys remember, they extended Bob Chapek's contract another 3 years. Now, only 4 months later, after that occurred, he is fired and no longer with the company. So what went wrong? Well, there's plenty that did go wrong. In June, Disney execs extended his contract by 3 years, but that was due to short-term promises that were coming to fruition at the time. Ultimately, Chapek had Disney focused on an analytics-driven company. This is one of the first things he said when Bob Iger talked about his retirement and talked about how there needs to be emotion and feel to what you do. And Bob Chapek then stands up right after that and says, this is a data and analytics-focused company moving forward, basically slapping Iger in the face and saying, you're wrong, we're gonna do better. So, spoken like a true politician, they're a data and analytics company moving forward. They're gonna focus on the data, the numbers, drive revenue, decrease expenses. Great, but Disney doesn't need a politician, does it? Disney's always needed a visionary. They needed a leader from a visionary standpoint and the direction of seeing where the company is going in the future. Not right now. Chapek was focused on right now, and he changed many things in the right now. Data will show you where you pull revenue from, where you can pull more revenue from. And data will show you where you can save a buck or two, okay? 100%, that's absolutely correct, and he is absolutely right when it comes to that. And social agendas that you should push, that can be focused from data and analytics as well, from surveys and how different guests and consumers take to different brands, different merchandise items, stuff like that. Those are things that you can get from data and analytics as well. This was a great selling point to Disney's execs. Okay, and this is what Chapek did. He's a true politician, just like Lord Sidious in Star Wars, how he rose his way to the top on some short-term promises on how to get through the war, how to get Naboo out of the situation that it was in, out of the war against the Separatists. He had those short-term promises, and he delivered by having an army and all those things. Great. But then what happened? He turned it into a galactic empire, and we saw a very similar thing here. Now, I'm not saying Bob Chapek is Lord Sidious. I think Lord Sidious wasn't as damaging to the empire as Chapek was to Disney. But this was a great selling point to the executives. The short-term results of lowering costs, raising prices, and making revenue on elements that had no cost to the company put confidence into the board. Okay, the board of Disney really wanted him in there because of these short-term gains that were being promised. Maybe the board was looking for a quick payout themselves. This happens many times with companies where someone is getting older, and a lot of the members of the board are getting older, and they want to get their payout and their return on their investment of being a part of this board for years. Great. But that doesn't help the company in the long run. But this does happen a lot with major companies. Or maybe investors are able to see long-term effects better than what the Disney executives were. I don't know. Who knows? We will see down the line kind of where that stands. However, this data and analytics focus ultimately leads you to losing your most powerful thing that Disney has ever had. Emotional connection. Emotional connection. That is the thing that has driven this brand up to the level and standard that it has been held at for years, for decades. And now that was taken away because Bob Chapek is a data and analytics focused person. He does not understand emotion. He does not understand why you need to understand emotion. All he thinks you need to understand is data and analytics, meaning dollars and cents. Where's the money coming in? Where's it coming out? Where's the numbers? That's all he cares about. And that allows him to make his decisions. Probably allows him to make his emotional decisions based on numbers. This is a very robotic, a very Terminator way of thinking from the Terminator movies. Now, Disney was built on this, was built on emotional connection and the ability to connect with your consumer emotionally. This helped Disney prior to Chapek by feeling what the guests wanted from the parks. This is what Disney was the best at. And small but powerful experiences made the magical memories and desires to return to the brand over and over. Understanding, how to capture our hearts with stories of deep emotion. This is what Disney done a great job of under Bob Iger, for many years within the Disney company. And this is ultimately what ultimately Walt Disney wanted from his company. So it was great. The data and analytics focus, though, once you shifted to that, it blinded all of that from you. Pushing politics, social agendas is something that Disney always stayed out of. Keeping the magic and the escape of leaving the real world once you get in the Disney parks. That was an amazing thing that allowed this emotional connection that you had with the brands and IPs that are there to sink in. Now that's being taken away because they institute various things. They change dress code for their cast members. They are changing the working environment for their cast members. They're pulling staffing and things like that. So the magic of you're not in a real world anymore goes away. You start seeing this is being run like a business. And you can absolutely understand it when you walk in the parks. You can feel that more than it ever was before. You don't have the regular, cast member waltzing around. I remember in the parks, I'd walk in the park and all of a sudden, a random cast member would walk up to me and just start chatting with me. Give me some colorful banter and go on about my day. And that helped to make my magical memories of that day. That doesn't happen because they cut that staffing. Why would we have that when we can put more people at cash registers to get more money? So, mostly Disney couldn't even make up its own mind on what to spend on capital. This was the thing that anchored Disney for many years. They knew what their guests wanted, they knew what their fans wanted, and they delivered. This year during D23, the Blue Sky concept, which is essentially Disney saying, we don't know if you really want this, we're thinking about doing it, so let us know if you actually really like it and we might do it. Ultimately, that let us know that there's a huge disconnect from fans. The data and analytics leaves a gap in planning and ultimately leads to questions of the future. Instead of confirmed added lands, new experiences, or even a new park, especially when your rival is building a new park, Disney presented a bunch of ideas and wanted to wait and see what people responded to, that they could decide what the ideas were worth to them. That's not the right way to go about your planning with capital. If you don't understand your consumers, maybe you need to fix that first before trying to figure out what they want, because you should already know. However, looking at these problems, the parks are more profitable than ever. So it hasn't damaged the parks yet. The issue with the parks under Chapek is the future of the parks they weren't being given the care that was needed, right? He focused on much of the change right now to make the parks as profitable as possible right now. Ultimately, making his pocket a little bit deeper, making the board executives' pockets a little bit deeper. And this happened. The parks is as profitable as ever. And that's great. The executives loved that. But he didn't focus on Disney streaming. He didn't focus on these other things. He made all these changes at the parks to make it as profitable as possible, line his pocket, line the executive's pocket, and that's why they extended him 3 years, and now they're gonna have to pay for that somehow, somewhere. He's not a person who understands emotional connection. We talked about that. Just numbers and data, which is why the blue sky concept was actually the best thing for him to do, because he doesn't understand and he's out of touch with the Disney consumer. In light of this, Pandora's box has been opened, guys. And there's no going back. Disney executives, Disney investors are not going to want the parks to go back to the ways that weren't as profitable before. They want the parks to keep making all that profit that they've been making while helping the Disney streaming platform and the Disney entertainment mediums make more money. Because that's what's not been as profitable under Chapek. Ultimately why they're not doing so well right now. That is also a byproduct of you. Yes, you the consumer. When you go in the parks and everybody has been buying Disney Genie Plus, they've been buying their lightning lanes, they've been buying all this stuff that Chapek said they will buy. We can just add money to it and they will buy it. It doesn't matter. We did, didn't we? Ultimately, they saw a ton of success. They've grown huge revenue margins when it comes to Disney Plus and the lightning lanes and all of these things. So Disney is not going to go back on that. They can't. Hopefully under Iger, some of these things can change. However, don't expect this to happen overnight and don't expect it to happen with the parks. The parks are not going to be changing as much as you would like it to. And yeah, maybe there are some things that he can fix, but he more so has to fix the content problems that Disney is pushing out right now and to fix the damage that's been done through Chapek and take some time to do so. These items are on a list I think that would need to be focused on. So we'll get into that list here in a second. But just before we jump to that, wanted to say, again, reiterating this, guys, the parks are as profitable as ever. Investors, board members, stockholders, executives at Disney don't want that to change. They're not going to have Iger come in just to say, let's go back to the free fast pass system. Let's go back to giving magic bands when people were in the parks. Let's go back to free transportation from the airport. They're not going to want to go back to that, guys. It is something that Iger is not going to be able to change quickly and easily. What he can do is he can keep the prices in the parks where they're at. I think that's where things need to be, okay? He can hold the price that the Disney parks are at and keep it there over time until it catches up to where it naturally would have been before. But I don't think he's going to be able to lower those prices back down. I don't think he's going to be able to take away the full concept of Disney Genie and the lightning lanes and all that. Hopefully they can streamline it to one process. But let's get into the list of what we think we are going to see, or what we think that he needs to have his eyes on when he first gets there. And what is that? What free perks can come back? Fast Pass, huge revenue line right now with Lightning Lane and Disney Genie Plus. I don't see him being able to make that a free perk anymore. However, maybe this is something he can give to Deluxe Disney Resort guests. Maybe it's something where you get three Lightning Lanes of your choosing if you stay in a Deluxe Resort. Maybe you get one if you're staying on property every day. Maybe that's something that he can do for free, but still has to have the option for people to buy, especially for season pass holders when they're going. He wants to make sure to get more money out of them because they're paying less per ticket, less per day for sure. So how do you make sure to get more money out of them? This is a way to possibly do that. Magic Bands. Look at Magic Bands. Maybe there's something you can do. They've come out with the new Magic Band Plus. Maybe that's something they don't offer, but they still offer the old Magic Band. I don't know. I don't think they're going to, because ultimately Disney wants to make some more money on that, and it's expense they don't have to do in the hotels, the resorts. They've seen that. Shuttle service to the airport. I think this is huge. I really do. I think it's huge. I think that this is something that they should bring back, but it's going to take time for him to be able to figure out how to politically bring it back where the execs and investors are okay with something like this, because they don't want to see him start to bleed money out of the parks, which has pole vaulted forward and made more money. So that's something I think you should look for when it comes to the free perks, how to address those. Next, the Star Wars Hotel. What changes can be made to make it more affordable for the general public? How can you make this something where the general population is able to go and experience this, especially the diehard fans who, many of them, don't have the money to afford this? Not because they're not wealthy or not doing well in their lives, but because it's absurdly expensive. How do you fix that? I think he can figure out some creative ways to make this happen. Maybe it's bringing on sponsors and things like that to the resort to take costs down and stuff. I don't know, but I think they can figure it out some way, somehow. Disney Plus, okay? This has got to be a huge focus. How can you increase the value of Disney Plus to advertisers without devaluing it to the consumers? Obviously, you don't want a bunch of commercials and crap like that in there because the consumer does not see the value at that point, but how can you monetize advertising dollars somehow through Disney Plus platform and not over commercialize to your consumers? I think there's creative ways to do this that we've seen Iger do before in the past with media and entertainment that Disney has possessed, so maybe this will happen again. Disney Plus has been structured in ways that Iger will need to take a look and fix how to make this profitable, which doesn't happen quickly. It will not happen overnight. I'm just saying it's going to be gradual growth that is needed. I'm not talking growth in subscribers. I'm talking growth in profit and loss margin. That's what he's going to need to focus on. Disney Plus can be a greater addition to supporting the Disney content that they're putting out. But Disney needs to be pushing out theatrical films in theaters so they're getting direct return from those films that they're investing in instead of a set subscriber amount of money, because then you start to take money away from your films when you're making them, because we only have a set budget because of the amount of subscriptions that we get from Disney Plus. Putting it back in the theaters allows you to get direct revenue, again, from those movies before they get on the Disney Plus platform. So I think they need to get back to that. Additionally, if I was Iger, in order to form a more profitable streaming platform, and I know many people are not going to like this idea, I would segment out the resources that you have. I would segment out what you have to understand the consumer better and to understand where you need to put your money if you're Disney. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe is getting tired right now, which a lot of people are assuming, why don't you try to figure that out yourself? Segment out just like TV companies have done. Disney has plenty of IPs. They have plenty of great options in categories. So take Star Wars, take the Marvel Cinematic Universe, take holiday movies, Pixar movies, make them separate segments. And when you want to get a Disney Plus subscription, have a basic package that includes classic Disney films, animal education features, shorts, shows, seasonal holiday films. But then if you want holiday films all throughout the year, you have to pay extra. If you want Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you got to pay extra. Star Wars movies, pay extra. Pixar, pay extra. For each of those different segments. Now you can see where you need to funnel your money based on who's paying for those subscriptions. And you can see what's hot and what's not. That allows you to pump the money in the right brands at that time. And you'll be able to see the shifts over time. Same thing with sports. You have a different segment there. So this is something that I think you will be able to see, because Marvel Cinematic Universe fans are not going to be mad that you're charging them more to be able to watch those movies, because they know if I pay more for this Marvel Cinematic Universe portion of this subscription, if I get the Marvel package of Disney Plus, I'm helping to invest in a future film or a future series for Marvel that I want to see anyway. They're not going to get mad about that. So essentially, you're helping them invest in the films that you're going to make for them that they want. That's great, right? Park pricing, don't expect pricing to go down, guys. We talked about that. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I think they can hold the pricing there. And then here's some bold predictions for us, or recommendations, either one. Take it how you want. I think Iger's going to work on a deal. Ultimately, if I was him, I would recommend he would work on a deal with Disney to get Marvel into the Orlando parks and give The Simpsons to Universal, let them have it. I think this would be a good recommendation for him to really jumpstart something else at the parks, maybe even make a new park with anchors of Marvel Cinematic Universe being the big focus. Announce park expansion land or a new park entity. That's exactly what we're talking about there. Work on establishing the regional rail stop at Disney, which Chapek failed to get done politically. Hopefully Iger can make this happen. He's got great relationships with the area, and so he should be able to make this happen. I think people will really appreciate this, especially since the free transportation from the airport and to and from the airport has been taken away. Segment subscription selections, like we said, take those packages. Do the same thing with ESPN. If you want to look at ESPN and make sports-specific packages, football, baseball, hockey, college basketball, college football, maybe you segment that out too, and then you know where to invest your money as far as how much you're covering each sport. Get Star Wars theatrical films underway. You need to get more Star Wars content into the theaters, not just through the Disney Plus platform, because you're losing money on Disney Plus. You're losing money on that. Do theatrical features so you're making money right away on your investment. Use that to add more content to Disney Plus platform while not just putting money in the Disney Plus platform. Make some money right away from that content that you're creating. Stop pumping out new princesses and instead look at doing live actions of Frozen, Moana, things like that. People would love to see that, okay? Restructure pricing for the Disney Star Wars Hotel and dive into some of the what-if scenarios with Marvel and with the Disney princesses and with Star Wars. People would love to see, what would happen if Mufasa survived? What would happen if Mufasa survived? Let's do a what-if movie about that. Let's do a what-if movie if Arendelle, King and Queen, Anna and Elsa's parents, didn't die in the boat, didn't die on the ship. Let's do a what-if scenario on that. And do Star Wars what-ifs. That way you can showcase some of the Legends content that Star Wars fans really want to see, but it's not a part of canon. It's not a part of the main cinematic universe. Awesome. Let's do that and give the consumers what they want. Ultimately, those are the recommendations. Those are the things I think that Iger should focus on, and maybe he will focus on. We don't have any reason as to why we think he's going to do that. I mean, this guy's way smarter than us. He knows way more than we're ever going to know. But those are the things that I think consumers would like. And who knows? He'll never see this, never watch this video. But those are the things that we would appreciate him focusing on a little bit. That'll wrap it up for today. I know it's a little bit longer of a video, guys. Thank you so much. Obviously, this is a big amount of news with Iger coming back. There's so many possibilities. There's a lot of hope. There's a new hope, just like Star Wars, now in the Disney parks. And we don't know how long he's going to be there. Maybe he's there for 2 years. Maybe he's there for 5 years. Maybe he's there for 10. Who knows? But it's a good thing that he is back. Ultimately, it's going to be positive in the long run, and that's all that we can hope for. So if you guys enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what we did good on, what we did bad on, and what we can improve, or things you want to see in future videos. And we will reply back to all your comments. And then we are official free travel agents. If you want to go down to the Disney parks and check things out, reach out to us and we'll help you book your next set of magical memories. For me and Aurora here at Press Pause, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again on the next video.